Kazuo Toka's assassin. On July 11th, 1978, Kazuo Toka sat inside a nightclub in Kyoto. He was 65 years old and the third-generation godfather of the Yamaguchi-gumi. He had led the organization for over 3 decades, transforming it from a regional gang into the most powerful criminal syndicate in Japan. His enemies were many, none had ever touched him. That night, a young man named Kiyoshi Narumi entered the club. Narumi was affiliated with the rival Matsuda Gumi. He moved through the crowd, drew a firearm, and shot Toka in the neck. The godfather slumped forward. Blood soaked his collar. Bodyguards rushed to his side. Narumi fled into the Kyoto streets. Toka survived. He was rushed to a hospital where surgeons stabilized him. The bullet had missed his spine by millimeters. He would recover, though the injury left lasting damage. But surviving was the easy part. What came next was the Yamaguchi-gumi's response. The entire organization mobilized. Every affiliate, every associate, every contact across Japan was pressed into service with a single objective. Find the man who shot the godfather. Narumi was eventually found. His body was later discovered in Osaka Bay. Police sources indicated he had been tortured extensively before death. The injuries were prolonged and deliberate. Drowning was the final act in a punishment that had taken hours. The details were never fully made public. They didn't need to be. The message traveled through every criminal network in Japan without a single word being spoken. You do not raise a hand against the Yamaguchi-gumi and survive. Hideo Murai. On the evening of April 23, 1995, Hideo Murai arrived at the Aum Shinrikyo cult headquarters in Tokyo. He was 36 years old and the cult's head of science and technology. Just 1 month earlier, Aum members had released sarin nerve gas on the Tokyo subway, killing 13 people and injuring thousands. Murai had overseen the chemical weapons program that made it possible. Now the walls were closing in. Japanese authorities were dismantling the cult piece by piece. Arrests were mounting. Murai had begun making public statements to reporters, hinting that outside forces had been involved in the cult's operations. Investigators believed he was preparing to reveal connections between Aum Shinrikyo and Yakuza syndicates who had provided logistical support, weapons procurement, and real estate access. That made him dangerous to people far beyond the cult. A crowd of reporters and camera crews surrounded Murai as he approached the building. Police were nearby, but not directly protecting him. In the chaos of shouting journalists and flashing cameras, a man pushed through the scrum. Hiroyuki Joe, a Korean-Japanese affiliate of the Yamaguchi-gumi, pulled a sashimi knife and drove it deep into Murai's abdomen. The entire attack was captured on live television. Cameras recorded Murai staggering backward, blood pouring through his fingers. Reporters screamed. Murai was rushed to a hospital. He died hours later. Joe claimed he acted alone out of anger over the sarin attack. Investigators never believed him. The timing was too precise. Whatever Murai knew about Yakuza involvement died with him. General Sekine. In the late 1990s, a dog breeder from Saitama Prefecture offered a service that no one else in Japan could match. Gen Sekine was not a hitman. He was not a Yakuza member. He was something worse. He was the man who made people disappear completely. Yakuza groups contracted Sekine to dispose of individuals who had become liabilities, business partners who defaulted on debts, associates who knew too much, people the organization needed gone without a trace. His method was methodical and horrifying. Victims were first poisoned or otherwise incapacitated at his rural property. Once dead, Sekine dismembered the bodies. Then he used industrial chemicals to dissolve the tissue. What remained was burned at extreme temperatures. Bones were ground down to powder. By the end of the process, there was essentially nothing left. No flesh, no bone, no evidence. Investigators later said his technique reduced human beings to invisible ash. Over several years, Sekine is confirmed to have disposed of at least 3 people. Police suspected the true number was higher. The bodies were never found because there were no bodies left to find. His operation unraveled when police investigated the disappearance of a known Yakuza associate. The trail led back to Sekine's property. Forensic teams found trace evidence of the disposal process despite his meticulous efforts. Sekine was arrested, convicted of murder, and sentenced to death. He was executed in 2006. The case earned him a grim title across Japan, the Body Eraser, the man who could make anyone vanish as if they had never existed. Juzo Itami. On December 20th, 1997, Japanese film director Juzo Itami fell from the rooftop of his office building in Tokyo. He was 64 years old. Police found a typed note nearby claiming it was a suicide over an affair. The case was closed almost immediately. But the story behind his death began years earlier. Itami had built a career making satirical comedies that poked fun at Japanese society. In 1992, he released Minbo, a film that directly mocked Yakuza extortion tactics. No mainstream filmmaker had ever targeted organized crime so openly. The response was swift. Shortly after the film's release, members of the Gotogumi ambushed Itami outside his home. They slashed his face with a blade, leaving deep cuts across his cheeks and neck. 5 men, a warning carved into skin. Itami survived. He recovered, and he refused to stop. He went on to make another film touching on organized crime. Then he began working on a new project reportedly exploring connections between the Yakuza and a controversial religious organization. He was pulling at threads powerful people wanted left alone. Then came the night of December 20th. Colleagues said Itami showed no signs of depression. There was no history of suicidal behavior. Investigative journalist Jake Adelstein later reported that Gotogumi boss Tadamasa Goto had ordered the killing and that members forced Itami off the roof at knife point. The case was never reclassified. It remains an official suicide. Whatever Juzo Itami was about to expose died with him on that rooftop. Wataru Inada. In May 1976, police entered a small apartment in Honolulu, Hawaii. Inside, they found 2 bodies. Wataru Jackson Inada and his girlfriend lay dead from gunshot wounds. No signs of forced entry, no witnesses. The scene was clean. Inada had been a member of the Sumiyoshi Kai, one of Japan's largest Yakuza syndicates. In 1972, he left Tokyo for Hawaii with a single objective: build a drug pipeline between Japan and the United States. He succeeded. Over the next 2 years, Inada established connections across the Pacific. He linked the Sumiyoshi Kai with the Los Angeles Mafia, creating a network that funneled heroin from Japan into American cities. Hawaii served as the midway point. Japanese tourists provided the cover. The operation ran smoothly and quietly. Authorities had no idea. That changed when Inada made a mistake. He tried to sell a large quantity of heroin directly to an undercover officer. He was arrested immediately. Facing serious federal charges, Inada made a decision that sealed his fate. He agreed to testify against his suppliers. He was going to name names, routes, contacts. Everything the syndicate had built in the United States would be exposed in open court. The trial never happened. Inada and his girlfriend were found dead before he could take the stand. The murder was never officially solved. No one was ever charged. But investigators believed the killing was ordered from within the organization. The message was clear. The pipeline was worth more than any single man's life. Inada disappeared from the headlines. The Yakuza's heroin trade continued for decades. Iko Ito. On the evening of April 17, 2007, Iko Ito stepped out of a campaign rally near JR Nagasaki train station. He was 61 years old and running for his 4th term as mayor of Nagasaki. Supporters surrounded him. Staff walked alongside. The street was busy. Behind him, a man was approaching. Tetsuya Shiru was a senior member of the Suishin Kai, an affiliate of the Yamaguchi Gumi. For months, he had been demanding compensation from the city of Nagasaki. His car had been damaged at a public construction site. He wanted the city to pay. Officials refused. Shiru escalated. He filed complaints. He made threats. He invoked the weight of the Yakuza name behind him. The city still refused. Shiru decided the mayor himself would answer for it. He pushed through the crowd outside the train station. Nobody stopped him. Nobody noticed the handgun. He raised it behind Ito and fired 2 shots into the mayor's back at point-blank range. Ito collapsed onto the pavement. Aides dropped to his side. Bystanders screamed. Emergency services arrived within minutes, but the damage was catastrophic. Both rounds had struck vital organs. Iko Ito was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Shiru made no attempt to run. He was arrested on the spot. In 2008, he was sentenced to death. The assassination stunned Japan. A sitting mayor gunned down in public over a minor financial dispute. It exposed just how far Yakuza affiliates were willing to go when they felt disrespected. Tadamasa Goto. In the early 2000s, a secret arrangement between one of Japan's most powerful Yakuza bosses and the FBI unraveled in spectacular fashion. Tadamasa Goto, leader of the Goto-gumi faction within the Yamaguchi-gumi, had been feeding American intelligence agencies information on his own organization. In exchange, the FBI helped him secure a visa to travel to the United States for a liver transplant at UCLA Medical Center. When the deal was exposed, the underworld erupted. Goto had broken the most sacred rule in the Yakuza code. He had sold out his own people to a foreign government. The Yamaguchi-gumi leadership moved swiftly. Goto was formally expelled from the organization. His name was erased from the ranks. But expulsion was not the end. It was the beginning. Goto's former associates and lieutenants became targets overnight. Anyone who had served under him was now considered a potential informant. The Yamaguchi-gumi launched a methodical campaign of retribution. Members connected to the Goto-gumi were tracked down across Japan. Some were ambushed leaving their homes. Others were cornered in restaurants and offices. The killings were execution style, clean, deliberate, each one a message. Goto himself survived. His FBI connections afforded him a degree of protection that his men did not share. He eventually retired and took vows as a Buddhist monk. His associates were not so fortunate. The purge demonstrated the Yakuza's most chilling principle. Punishment did not stop with the betrayer. It extended to everyone around him. Loyalty to the wrong man carried the same sentence as betrayal itself.